Hey, welcome to Entertainment and Star Wars. My name is Rob. I'm here. You're there. And I am honored, truly honored to be with the legend, the myth, the man from RK Outpost, Ryan Kinel. Ryan, how are you doing? And thank you so much, really, for coming to the channel. I'm very excited.
Well, it is, first of all, that's a very humbling introduction, one that's not really deserved, but I do really appreciate it. It's my pleasure to be on. I'm glad we could work it out. You have been trying to get me on for a very long time, and I'm just happy that everything worked out and we were able to do it. We even had some problems right before the stream. We weren't sure if it was going to happen, but somehow, some way, we've made it work. So I'm ready to talk some Star Wars. I got a question for you, though.
Okay.
When did you change your channel name?
I just changed it maybe a month ago because I enjoy talking a little bit of entertainment. And I had a guy on, I don't know if you want to call him a troll, and he's like, well, why are you making an entertainment video when you're just supposed to be everything that's Star Wars? And I was like, because I felt like making it. And I said, you know what? I could just change the first name, and this way I could talk a little entertainment too, because I like certain things like, and I get interested, and I'm like, I want to talk about this because I don't see anybody talking about it. And I said I would like to cover it, but if I'm always Star Wars, there's no way I can jump to entertainment. And sometimes Star Wars is just slow and there's not much going on. And I'm like, all right, I'm not going to scrap for some little stupid article that's probably false anyway. And I don't really want to cover that. I want to cover the truth. So if I feel it's not true, like this thing with the sequel trilogy, I don't know if you've heard how they're saying it's going to be retconned, and I don't believe that for a second. I think it's a bunch of, I just don't think it's going to happen. And I don't want to cover it and tell people false things and then come back later and say, I'm sorry, I reported something I shouldn't have. And Star Wars has been slow. And another thing too, I noticed that Star Wars doesn't get a lot of views anymore because people are very, I don't know if they're frustrated with it, or I don't know if they think it's dead to them. The fandom's gotten torn. So I thought maybe I'd mix it up a little bit. That's what I'm trying to find. I guess I'm trying to find who I am, what I want to do, and where I want this to go. I'm just trying to see what you want.
I think that's a good idea. I think that when you name your channel, everything Star Wars, or say Star Wars Theory or Star Wars Explained, you get locked into a very, Star Wars. That's what you have to talk about. You know what I mean? Because that's the only reason that people come to your channel. If you make a video about the DC universe, it doesn't make any sense. Well, this is everything Star Wars. Why is something DC popping up? So that's what I figured it was. I was just interested to hear your thoughts on it. But I think that's probably a good move. Then you're not locked in at just talking about Star Wars.
And I noticed, like when I first came on this platform, there used to be John Talks Star Wars, but now he's changed it to just John Talks. Or like Rhodes Rants used to be, I don't know if you know Rhodes, I like Rhodes. It was Rhodes Rants on Star Wars, but now he changed it because he's covering other things. You can't cover that, like you said, if you're strictly just one thing. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
So
now, I will say that YouTube likes it when you just talk about one thing. But you do lock yourself in that if that's all that happens. So, but yeah.
Like I might just change, like in the future, whatever I find, like I really want to do, I find is working for me or people love to see, then I might just change it to something completely different. But for now, until I just find me, I want to talk a little entertainment, a little bit of Star Wars, a little bit of gaming, until I can finally find what everybody's coming here for. Once I find that, then I could roll with it. And that's what I'm trying to find right now.
Nice.
So
I like it.
So anyway, I want to say hi to Bear Nerd Fun, who just stopped by, Emperor Palpatine, and James Clark Artist, who's here. And I just want to say hi to them. I know there's other people who come in as or they'll watch the replay. But Ryan, let's talk about you, because I know I'm not. People know about me, but they may not know about you, and so I want to get that out. I know you're right now. You're covering the Naughty Dog, the whole situation there. You've covered about the DCU and what's been going on there. But I remember your first video ever to come on here. We talked about the Fandom Menace, why you joined the Fandom Menace, and box after box after box after box of your books. I was blown away. I was like, how could some? It's unbelievable. So for you, I want to know about Star Wars. What got you into it? What did you like about it? What didn't you like about it? Your thoughts on it?
Well, Star Wars for me, so I was born in 1988. I'm 31 years old. So for me, the way I experienced the original trilogy was on, VHS tapes. I had some of my dad's, some of my grandpa's. We watched them, and I knew what Star Wars was. I knew who Darth Vader was. I knew Luke Skywalker, Han Solo. I liked them, but I wasn't some, mega Star Wars fan or anything until 1999, The Phantom Menace came out. And that came out when I was in fourth grade, maybe third or fourth grade, right around there. And I remember all the hype surrounding Star Wars coming back. I remember I think it was Pepsi had the promotion where they had all the different characters that were all cans that you could collect all these different characters. Like I remember so vividly the promotion, the lead up to The Phantom Menace. I went and saw it in theaters and I was hooked on Star Wars. I loved what I saw, right? And I think I think Phantom Menace around my age group, that's who it was really geared towards. So once I got done with that, I wanted to experience everything Star Wars related. And that led me to, at school, they had these little like scholastic pamphlets they would hand out where they would, look at all these books that you can buy. And one of the things I saw on there was a young adult, like a youth series, Jedi Apprentice. It was the story of Obi-Wan as like a 13-year-old, which was right around the same age I was. And how he became apprentice to Qui-Gon and their experiences together before Episode 1. I started reading those and I could not put them down. I was consuming all of it I could find. My uncle saw me reading those books. He says, "You like Star Wars books?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm really into it right now." He says, "Hold on." He goes up to his room. He comes down with a stack of books. Let's see if I can find here. Here's 3 of them right here. And these are the 3 that he gave me so long ago. Wow. They are my most beat up ones, starting with Heir to the Empire. And you can see it's been read a couple times. It's probably the most beat up of my books because he had them for so long before he gave them to me. But he gave me, this trilogy along with some other books. And I got started in the Star Wars expanded universe and I was hooked. I never put it down.
Wow. So what were you? Well, Drunk 3PO's joined us. What's up, Drunk? How are you? Just want to say hi. I'm a big fan of his too. I think Drunk is. Jay's an awesome guy. I love Jay. He's a great guy. So just want to say hi to Jay.
Hey Jay.
Okay, so you start.
He's my best friend. He's my best YouTube friend.
Yeah, Jay's awesome, man. I do videos sometimes about him. He's a terrific guy. He really is. Anybody who doesn't like Jay, I think they're on drugs. I don't know. Something's wrong with them. It really is. Seriously, how can you not like the guy? I don't get it. So
some people are just inherently jealous. That's how it works.
Yeah, I guess that would be it. I guess it's the best way to put it. So, okay, so you start reading the books. What about the prequels? Were you into the movies, or is it more the books that got you hooked?
Well, like I said, Episode 1 is the thing that really got me hooked. And then obviously I was really excited for Attack of the Clones. I was, maybe 12 or something how old was I? Attack of the Clones was 2002. So I was about 13, 14 right then. I liked it. I loved the combat and all that stuff. Again, that was probably right around the age group that it was targeted at too. So it worked for me. And obviously at the age of 14, who doesn't like looking at Natalie Portman in a cutoff white shirt running through the desert? And then Revenge of the Sith was a huge buildup to me, and it was incredible. But during that time, from 99 to 2005, that's when I really fell in love with Star Wars and started consuming all the books. I found out that it wasn't just these couple books that my uncle had given me. It was there were literally at that point in time, there was over 100 novels, not to mention, over 100 young adult or like children's, youth books. related to Star Wars, as well as dozens and dozens and dozens of comics. So that's what I started getting into. And for me, that I fell deeper into that than I did to the movies, because although watching a movie is incredible and you get 2 hours of enjoyment out of it, and you get to see it on the screen. When I read a novel, I might be getting 15 hours of in-depth exploration of this world and these characters. Sitting behind me, I have, over 140 Star Wars novels, full length novels. That's a lot of content to consume.
Yeah. Man, that's incredible. Oh, Tugs has joined us, and Benzo H. So I just want to say hi to them. And Gaming A has joined me, also a good friend of mine. So I hope everybody's good out there. Just want to say hi to everybody. So I'm here with Ryan Kinel, great legend over here. He's just killing it on YouTube. And I'm really happy he's here. I probably said that about 5 times. Anyway, so Ryan, you read the books. We get to the prequels. You've seen the original trilogy. Now we get to the sequel trilogy. Your thoughts on this? What were your thoughts going in?
There's more in between, I think, that I would need to talk about and kind of explain my perspective on everything. Because like you said, 2005, Revenge of the Sith, we have this gap of 7 years between then and 2012 when Disney buys Star Wars. And during that time, I would say it was maybe one of the best times to be a Star Wars fan if you did anything other than just watch the movies. Because in 99, there was a 19-book series called New Jedi Order, which kind of changed the way that Star Wars books would be produced and really raised the stakes on everything. They weren't afraid to kill off characters and to make it a little bit of a darker world. So then there's tons of books that go into what happened after Return of the Jedi. 25 years after, 30 years after, 40 years after Return of the Jedi, you're reading these stories about Luke Skywalker, about Han Solo, about Leia, about their children, and about how they've rebuilt the galaxy, rebuilt the Jedi Order, and encountered a bunch of different threats along the way. And so that, to me, was the story. And that, to Lucasfilm, was also the story. They had something called the hierarchy of canon, which is very strange in a medium that runs for 40 plus years, to have been telling one specific story without any retcons, without any all right, let's flip the switch and start this thing over again. And this is through video games, this is through comic books, this is through books, this is through TV series, this is through movies themselves. So it's very unique for Star Wars, and this all was one story. You can even listen to George Lucas, where he gives a quote about how, Disney didn't do what I had planned. My plan, it was always going to be about, the father, the children, and the grandchildren, meaning the descendants of Luke and Leia. And he says that's not a surprise. It's even in the novels and everything, meaning that George Lucas, did consider that to be canon, right? Now, whether he would have adhered completely when he made his movies, it's to be known, because George's word always took precedent. For me, that was Star Wars. That was the story that was told. In 2012, Disney buys Star Wars. Hey, we're making episodes 7, 8, and 9. And I'm thinking, God, this is going to be incredible. Everything that I've been reading about, everything that I have been pouring my money, my heart, my soul, my time, my energy into, this story that I'm so in love with, I'm going to see it come to life. That is awesome. I'm going to get to see Jason and Jaina solo, depending on, what time frame they go. I'm going to get to see, this in live action. Then in 2014, they say, hey, everything that was expanded universe, everything that wasn't just the movies and the Clone Wars TV series, yeah, that's all not canon anymore. That never happened. It's just going to be all put in an alternate universe. We'll call it Star Wars Legends. You can have that over there. We're not making anymore. We're going to go forward with our story. We want creative freedom. We're going forth with Disney canon. And I was pissed. I was really fucking pissed that happened. To me, that it was so disrespectful of everything that had come before it. It didn't make any sense, because the timeline worked out. That the last book we had in the EU timeline-wise is a story called Crucible. That takes place about 45 years or so, maybe 43 to 45 years after episode 4. the timeline would have worked perfect to just continue on after that, because Force Awakens comes out 38 years after that initial, after Star Wars was first released in theaters in 77 to 2015. The ages would have been right. You could have told the story, but you wanted your creative freedoms. And what you really mean by that is just make some creatively bankrupt facsimile of the original trilogy to try to pander to fans, to try to trick fans. And the sad thing was, when Force Awakens came out, it worked. And a lot of people were eating out of their hand. A lot of people were just on the hypnosis of Star Wars is back. Guys, Star Wars is back. And they could not see what an empty world this was. And to me, I was pissed off because I'm like, you guys are so ignorant of everything that was thrown away. You don't even understand that this is a shit movie. That's like where I was coming from. That's where I was coming from.
Well, this is what I want, because everybody who I talk to is different and feel just a different way. And again, I don't have a problem with that. But a lot of people feel the way you do. This is a lot. People don't get the fan. Oh, what is this fandom menace thing? I don't understand what this is about. Well, that's what it's about. It's about people who disagree with what we got. That's it. I'm not saying the other people are wrong for what they like. You can like whatever the hell you want. It's your life. It's your life. You do whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. That's great. But I feel like you do. Like, of course, I was on the hype train. I was right with you on the hype train. But I didn't read the books like you did, but I knew about these characters, and I knew, so, oh man, they have kids, and what happens with these kids, and one's going to turn evil. It's going to be epic. And I heard about it, so I was pumped up to actually see it. And I was like, who is this? Who are we getting here? And they're like, oh, they got a female lead. Like, that doesn't bother me. It's not the female lead. It's what you're putting on the screen. It's a story that you're writing. And to me, they what they did was they purchased it to make money. They had no clue what they were doing with it. They were just like, oh, George's stuff, that's nice. But yeah, we want to throw what we want to do. And that was a mistake. To me, that is the biggest mistake that they made. And then for Kathleen Kennedy to consistently lie like she does over and over again by saying shit like, oh, George never left us anything. He left us a blueprint. I'm like, he's sitting right there with you saying, I left you a treasure trove of stuff, from comic books to books. Hell, I have 3 movies that I'm hoping you'll put out because I just don't want the backlash. Maybe you can do it better than I can. Maybe you can give the fans what you want. And they were like, oh, this is nice, but we're not going with this. We're going to do our Star Wars. That killed me because I wish listen, I don't know who to blame. Do I blame him for selling it? Do I blame them for what they did? Do I blame Kathleen Kennedy, who he thought would be his speaker for him? I mean, he picked Kennedy because he figured that she would go into Disney Lucasfilm saying, listen, I'm going to represent them. This is not what George wants. George would like it to go this way. And if we go this way, we're giving the fans what they want. But apparently, Hollywood doesn't care what they give us anymore. They want to give us what they want.
Yeah.
And I think and I think I think that's our biggest problem with Hollywood for every YouTuber is that, they're trying, we got to reach this gender. Oh, we got to put this out for this group. And well, why is everything failing? Why did Ghostbusters 2016 fail? Why did Ocean's 8 fail? It's not because it's women leads, because they don't get it. They just don't get it. They don't care about the war. They don't care about what the history. No, they want to destroy, like Kylo Ren says, destroy kill the past, let it die, all of it, the Jedi, the Sith, let's kill it all. Why? If it wasn't for the past, you wouldn't have the present, and you have a great future. Ryan, I'm stumped. I don't know. I don't understand.
Well, and you know what? The whole female lead thing is so retarded because the story that I'm talking about would have involved Jaina Solo, the daughter of Han and Leia, and one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars. She is an absolute badass. She's a very skilled fighter pilot. She got her dad's skill in piloting and her mom's talent with the Force, right? Jaina Solo is a great, fucking fantastic, fierce, strong female character. You could have had that, but you didn't. I do think that they were trying to echo parts of Jaina and Jason's story in a small way with Rey and Kylo. And obviously the theories were crazy, right? Because people were like, oh, maybe they're brother and sister, maybe there's something. And of course they never knew what they were doing. They had no plan.
Right.
Even though I wasn't reminded this till very recently, but remember after Force Awakens, people asking Daisy Ridley, well, who are your parents? Who are they? And she's like, well, I thought it was pretty easy to tell from the movie. I mean, I know who it is. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you know who it is? So you were either lying to people or they changed the plan, because there's no way that anyone would watch that and say, oh yeah, must be Palpatine's, must be a descendant of a clone of Palpatine. Yeah, that must be it. Like, there's no way. Yeah. God.
Let me get to the super chat real quick, and then I'm going to get right back to Ryan. From Rosetta Allen, who's awesome. I love this lady. She says, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. She says, you guys know you hate strong-willed women. That is why you're both such good friends to me. Everyone knows I am a soft woman who is quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Good to see you, Rosetta. Hope you're doing good.
And Krang, thanks for stopping by. I know it's 2:30 a.m. He said he needs some sleep. I hope I said this guy's name right. Bill White Scorpio says, after TLJ, I couldn't care less about Star Wars, and before I was getting at least intrigued. Yeah, that's good. That's great. And Will Fatman says, glad to see you finally washed your Naughty Dog sweatshirt, Ryan.
Well, I wash it all the time, but I only wear it for my my Naughty Dog shirt, or my Naughty Dog videos. But I put it on for the video, and then I take it off and fold it up. But I've washed it several times. No worries. It smells very good, in fact. It smells like Tide.
I know that can be bought in the merch store if anybody wants from your channel, correct?
That is true. It can be. Thank you for the plug. I appreciate that.
Please, man, please. And listen, if you want to plug your channel, you want to put the link to your channel, you could put it right in the chat. Feel free to do that, Ryan, if you need to.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
So, here's the thing. I feel like everybody was psyched for The Force Awakens. And, and I know you read the books, but I'm not saying, like me, I didn't. There's other people who didn't. I probably don't even know all the content that you absorbed is, incredible. And I missed all that. So we go into, anyway, The Force Awakens. Everybody's pumped up. It does really well. It's like one of the highest grossing movies of all time. And then comes The Last Jedi, right? The Last Jedi rolls in. And that, to me, everything was being set up. And it was like Rian Johnson just decided, okay, I want to destroy everything you made. And it was like, did they hate each other? I was like, did this guy not like, did he not like J.J. Abrams? You had the big bad of the movie. You kill him off in like the middle of the movie. I'm like, what is going on here? People who love this throne room scene. I'm like, you got guys dancing around. She kicks one and like 3 people fall, and guys are like all over the place. And then a blade disappears, and I'm like, how is this good? And why would these guys attack the guy who would be the new leader? They should bow down and say, "Oh, you killed him. Well, we're going to serve you now." And it didn't make any sense. I was like, this, and all it was to me was a spaceship, and we're going to wait till they run out of fuel. I'm like, what am I watching here? I'm so puzzled with I don't think they had a direction, Ryan. I just really think when JJ says, "Oh, we knew this all along," and they knew nothing. They knew shit. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
I think that I don't think that Ryan hated J.J. Abrams or what he was doing. I don't think he was necessarily trying to undo anything. I think that ultimately, just like we've been saying for years, this is a failure of leadership. Rian Johnson, quite simply, is not someone that should have been given episode 8 in a 9-part saga. He has made it very clear, even in interviews, that he doesn't really like to talk about like canon. He doesn't like to be someone that, he just wants to make his own movies. And that's what they gave him free reign to do for The Last Jedi. They gave him free reign to make his own movie. There was clearly no plan. And to be quite honest, there wasn't much set up in The Force Awakens. As much as everyone likes to talk about everything that was set up in it, It was specifically just designed in typical J.J. Abrams fashion to be all set up with no intention of ever paying anything off, right? It was all these little things that to make the audience question everything, but in the end, nothing was brought. There was nothing of substance in The Force Awakens. It was a very empty, shallow movie, which is why when Starkiller Base, you don't know what the Resistance is or why they exist. You don't know what the First Order is or why they exist. What happened to the Empire? What happened to the New Republic? This doesn't make any sense. And then so when Starkiller Base blows up 5 planets in the Hosnian system, everyone's kind of looking at each other like, was that Coruscant? Did that matter? What is going on? And they quickly moved on because no one in the actual movie gave a shit about it either. The movie is so blank and dull and empty to me, which is why I was furious that it made $2 billion. I'm like, what? Why are people doing this? So then The Last Jedi comes along, is a completely different tone. Doesn't seem to really progress the story anywhere. I think more than anything, at the end of The Last Jedi, it's like, where do you take the story from here? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, totally.
So Rian Johnson just told the story that he wanted to tell, and he was given free reign to do that by Kathleen Kennedy. No one worked together on this. Just Kathleen Kennedy is where all of the blame should go. You can't blame a dog for barking. And that's what Rian Johnson fucking did. He was brought in and said, hey, create your own movie. We're not going to give you any restrictions. He said, okay. And he did it. Now, he's an asshole. He's an asshole to fans. He's a piece of shit when it comes to that. And there's a lot of virtue signaling in his stuff, but that's who they hired. He did what he was asked to do, which was do whatever he wants. So really, I think the blame has to go on Kathleen Kennedy.
I agree. Oh, Rosetta again has given me a second super chat. You didn't have to do this, really. I mean, but it's great. Thank you so much for doing it. Oh, she says, Dear Ryan, sadly, I'm not doing too well. Oh, no. I lost my aunt on Monday, and I found out Tuesday. I'm a bit of brokenhearted, but it is good to see you guys.
I'm sorry to hear that, Rosetta. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, she says, I got to stream with you sometime. You were so nice. I don't know if she's referring to me, you, or both. I have no idea. Or James. Maybe she's referring to James, too. I don't know. Maybe anything. I have no idea. But I'm sorry. I'm really – and thank you. You didn't have to do that to get my attention. But thank you so much. You're such a nice person.
Really sorry to hear that. Really sorry to hear that, Rosetta.
Yeah, that's horrible. Man, now I feel bad. Like, where am I going now? Let me try to focus what you were saying. So, here's the how did you feel? Like, okay, we had the Clone Wars. Did you watch the Clone Wars? Did you care about the Clone Wars? Or did you just watch season 7? Like, I'm not sure how you felt about any of that. Did you watch it or what?
I watched it. In fact, I have here. Hold on. Here's some of my box sets here. I don't know where season 1 is, but I have box sets of the Clone Wars. I did follow along. Now I can't say I was a huge fan. I disliked a lot of what they did in the Clone Wars.
What particularly did you dislike? I'm really curious now. You got my attention.
So in the Clone Wars, they started. To me, a little bit Disney light, to be honest. They started retconning things for no apparent reason. What they did to Mandalorian and Mandalorian culture. And I think I blame Dave Filoni for this. Now, George Lucas ultimately approved everything, but we have interviews of Dave Filoni talking about how him and George disagreed on what should ultimately be the fate of Ahsoka. George Lucas always thought that Ahsoka should die. Dave Filoni thought she should live. So, when George leaves and Dave Filoni gets full control, she lives. George Lucas, Dave Filoni talks about how he tricked George Lucas by showing him a different part of a scene to get him approve something and then putting something else in the TV series. There's clips out there from the behind the scenes features of Clone Wars where Dave Filoni talks about that. To start off Dave Filoni's tenure, he started it off with something wrong, and he got called out by Star Wars fans. Admiral Yularen, who is, present in a lot of Clone Wars episodes. Dave Filoni thought it'd be cool to, I just want to pull a character from the original trilogy and put him in Clone Wars. That'll connect everything. So he picked a character from episode 4, and he was like, hey, look, this guy's dressed in white. He must be a Grand Admiral, which means he was an admiral back then. And they didn't do their research. This was actually a colonel, Colonel Yularen. So it's a very small thing, right? This guy was a colonel, but you made him an admiral, which doesn't make sense. How does he go from an admiral to then being a colonel, 20 years later? So they actually had to little write into a retcon as to, oh, this person got out of the service for some reason, and then he joined back up at a lower rank, all these silly things. And he got called out by a hardcore expanded universe fan for making that mistake and not knowing his lore. From that point on, it seemed like Clone Wars went out of its way to retcon things that didn't need to be retconned. Mandalorians got changed. Mandalorians went from this badass warrior culture that we'd heard of in books, that we'd heard of in Knights of the Old Republic, in comic books, all these things. Then it got changed. Well, those aren't the real Mandalorians. The real Mandalorians are now peaceful. We've rejected our warrior past. It's just the Death Watch, these like terrorist organizations.
Yeah.
And of course, the Mandalorians are now very matriarchal for some reason, which if you've heard some of Dave Filoni's quotes about how he feels about the matriarchy and how supportive he is of it, makes a lot of sense that would happen. Just a lot of little things that didn't make sense. I hated how they brought Darth Maul back. Again, that was George Lucas's decision ultimately, but I felt like it was stupid. I feel like death should matter in Star Wars, and when you start making death not matter, a lot of things can happen. Anybody can come back.
Yeah.
Which we saw. Yeah. We saw Rey come back.
Yeah. We did. Well, now, since you mentioned Ahsoka Tano, somebody said, Ken says, he said, Luke can't be our only hope if Ahsoka is still around.
Ahsoka ruins canon for so many ways. One, just the fact of how involved she was. When you look at Anakin and Ahsoka's relationship, a lot of people are like, I love this iteration of Anakin in the Clone Wars TV series. It's way better than the movies. But unfortunately, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't even connect between episodes 2 and 3. This takes place, like the Clone Wars movie only takes place, several weeks after Attack of the Clones. It's not that long of a time that has passed. Anakin seems like kind of a completely different person. And he even seems like a completely different person between the end of the Clone Wars and the beginning of Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith, yeah.
So those are things that don't make sense. It doesn't make any sense to me how they fought Count Dooku in Attack of the Clones. In the opening sequence for Revenge of the Sith, they meet again. And Obi-Wan and Anakin say, Obi-Wan says, we'll do it together this time. Of course, Anakin says, my powers have doubled since the last time we met Count. He didn't mean the 7 times that they fought during the Clone Wars TV series. He meant on Geonosis, right? Just a lot of things like that pissed me off about it, because it doesn't even connect to the movies, let alone all of the other stuff that they went ahead and ignored. But I know that a lot of people enjoy it, and that's great. For me, Ahsoka needs to die. Ahsoka has to die. Ahsoka knows who Anakin Skywalker is. You're telling me that Ahsoka Tano was in Rebels now. She's influential, and she is a part of creating the Rebel Alliance. That's how important you have made this person. Yet, and we know she survives throughout, because she gets saved by Ezra through freaking time travel. We know she survives until after the Battle of Endor, because we see her and Sabine ready to take off and find Ezra after Return of the Jedi. You're telling me that the hero of the rebellion, Commander Luke Skywalker, who blew up the Death Star and saved everyone, you're telling me Ahsoka Tano doesn't go and find him or get a message to him saying, hey, your name's Skywalker? I know a guy named Skywalker. He's Darth Vader now. Like,
yeah,
it's so stupid. And anyone that thinks Ahsoka could possibly be as influential and important as she was is ignoring a lot of things with Star Wars, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, how about this? I've heard people, Thomas Gelke's here, so I just want to say hi because he's a great guy. And
Hey,
you haven't seen Thomas, Rosetta, subscribe, James. Make sure you check out their channels too, please. If any of you want to put your channels in the chat, feel free, because that's the only way to do it. Blue. I'm just gonna call him Blue Scorpio.
Blue-eyed. It's blue-eyed Scorpio.
Blue-eyed Scorpio. Gotcha. Blue-eyed Scorpio says, "F you, Ryan. Darth Maul is my lover."
You're dead. You're dead to me.
James Clark Artist says Ahsoka is Filoni's creation. Ken says Luke Sky Guy. That's funny. So yeah. Well, here's another thing about Star Wars too, and this might be where the prequels, because the prequels kind of mess things up too. When we get to Return of the Jedi, which I haven't talked anything original trilogy, there's a part when we have Leia and Luke, right? And I think this part kind of made me cringe a little bit, because they start talking about, he's like, "Do you know anything about your mother?" And she said, "Well, I don't really." He said, "No, your real mother." And she's like, "Well, I was only with her a few years, and she was beautiful, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, wait a minute. Because in the prequels, she died at your birth. So there is no humanly possible way that you can remember your mother for any amount of time. It's not going to happen. And that part was like, okay, so the prequels messed that up. And that bothered, I don't know if that bothered you in any way, or but that did bother. And then we had the famous kiss in Empire Strikes Back between brother and sister. Yet she says, "Somehow I always knew." So if you always knew that he was your brother, why the hell would you give him a passionate kiss like that? Now, initially, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, to me, so that we'll talk about that one specifically first. That somehow I always knew. That I don't think that necessarily means that she consciously knows that they're brother and sister. I think that means to her that she always had a feeling that they had some connection. You know what I mean? Like that. There's something more to that. Now, the moment where she kisses him, she doesn't have any feelings for him. She's literally just doing it to piss Han off.
That was,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, as far as the Padme part goes, I agree that was a retcon, because obviously George Lucas hadn't written the screenplay for Revenge of the Sith in 1983 when Return of the Jedi came out. But I think that that is a little bit understandable in George Lucas's decision. It definitely is a retcon. But one of the things they did in the expanded universe was, they kind of went out of their way to explain some of those retcons a little bit, to try to make it make sense, where they talk about how Leia's, quote unquote, memories of her mother were almost like impressions through the Force, because they were Force sensitive, which I thought was interesting. And it doesn't completely explain it away or anything, but it does do a little more to at least kind of smooth that over a little bit, at least some effort to do that.
Yeah, look, you're right. I can't blame. But when I first saw the original trilogy, and then I was, because back then, I'm old school. I was there in the theater in '77. So when it first came out in New Hope, the whole thing, it just hooked me right in after the first scene. But as I watch things, it's like George. Maybe I'm a little confused. Maybe you know more than I do, and I'm not. I don't know everything. That's why I'm bringing this up. I thought George had written out all 9 movies. So when I saw this, I was like, but didn't he have these 3 already written? And didn't he realize that this is kind of like, wait a minute, you showed us this, and now you're telling us something a little different here. So, am I missing something? Is this something you know from reading that I don't know about that?
As far as if he had them all planned out?
Yes.
So he definitely had them planned out to a degree. But if you remember, if you've seen some of the early drafts of Episode 4, it was Luke's Star Killer, and there were like things that were like completely different. The main character ended up kind of switching a little bit. Obi-Wan Kenobi was a completely different person. They were all kind of rough drafts of this universe he had made. It wasn't until he really sat down and wanted to do the prequels that he completely fleshed out everything. And the same thing for the story outline that he would have had for, episodes 7, 8, and 9. It wasn't some detailed script, it wasn't a screenplay. It was just a series of ideas that he had. So
Gotcha.
that's my understanding of it.
Michael Brett says that he says he likes Ahsoka's character throughout the Star Wars, the Clone Wars. And then God says, hey, Ryan Kennel, did you see the news about the NFL? It looks really bad. So I don't know. I didn't see it. I just saw that they canceled preseasons, but I don't know too much more about anything else. I didn't catch up on that. I just saw the NFL cancel preseason. Did you hear anything else that I haven't heard?
Well, the NFL is just going through the same sort of social injustice crap that everything else is going through right now. You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh, well, we need to make sure we bend over to virtue signal in every possible way we can. NFL is going through the same thing right now. So that might be what he's talking about.
Well, since I talk entertainment, this is more sports related, but since he got me into sports, I just want to bring this up real too. Have you heard about the Washington Redskins and now the Cleveland Indians apparently about them changing their name? Yeah. What are your thoughts about this stuff? I'm really curious to see what you think about it.
Well, I did a video about the Redskins for Sports Wars, but I think it's really stupid. I think that this is a case specifically in the instance of the Redskins where time after time when the Native American population is polled, the vast majority of them say that they're not offended by this. And in fact, the word that they associate it with before they associate any other word with it is proud. They're proud of that name. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not any Native Americans that aren't upset. I'm sure there are. No one agrees about everything. There's a group of Native Americans that protest like every Redskins game, right? But by far and wide, it is they're not like opposed to it when you look at the majority. 90% in a poll in 2016. That number's lowered a little bit over recent years. 2019, it was like 83%, if I remember correctly, that were like okay with it, had no problems with it. This is the case of white people getting offended for everyone else. That is what this is. That is what I think this is. Same thing with the Indians. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely.
Yeah.
When are we going to get to the point in time when the Patriots is considered offensive because American history, Patriots are the Minutemen, the Revolutionary War. Oh, well, America was founded on white supremacy and racist ideals, right? That's what you hear from these people, these same people that are trying to get the name change for the Washington Redskins. So that's only a matter of time before that goes. Soon we're going to be just down to team colors. That's what they're going to call it. Now you won't be able to say black, brown, or white or anything, but it'll just be the blue team and the orange team.
I mean, it's like trying to listen. It's like, okay, this offends me. We got to take this down. We got to take that. This is, unfortunately, this happened. And you can't go back in the time machine and change what happened, no matter how annoyed you are, no matter how frustrated. Listen, a lot of things happened in my past that I'm pissed, but I can't go back and change those moments. I can't go back and say, hey, do this, do that. It happened. And, from history, from the past, you should learn from it and improve on it and say, okay, well, we can't do these things because these things were wrong. And we were wrong. And now we know, and we can never let this happen again. And that's why people fight for their rights. And I get it. And I totally understand that. I just feel that, tearing down everything, okay, it's getting a little crazy now. What if something offends me? I'm going to go out, grab all my friends, and say, hey, it's going to offend you too. Let's go out and tell them this is offensive to me. Listen, history is history. We should learn from it and say, okay, it was a bad part of history, and this can never happen again. And we got to remember that this should be there to remind us of what had happened, so this doesn't happen again. And that's the way I always saw the history, that we learn from it and we improve it. Just like a product. You get a product and like, okay, this product's good, but we can improve it. We can make it better. And I think that's the whole point of everything. I mean, but I don't know what you think of that. And by the way, we'll say hi to Fatal J. Fatal J said, "What's up, freakers?"
What's up, Fatal? My basic thing that I fall back to is I am not going to sit there and fucking be offended for anyone. I'm just not. I don't care. The word doesn't offend me. I don't care. If you're offended by it, speak up about it. But don't try to tell other people that they should be offended, because it's not going to work. And if you tell me I should be offended, I'm probably just going to say, go fuck yourself and be less offended. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it is for me. And that's this happened in my high school. My high school, the mascot was named Redskins. The same exact thing. They brought in all the tribes from around the area that lived in that county during the time, and the vast majority of them all said that we don't have a problem with it. We like the mascot. But a couple of people were offended, and the white crowd, the white virtue signaling crowd, latched onto them and decided to force this to get the mascot changed. That's exactly what I see happening here.
I want to go back to the chat because, my people are always important. Michael says, if Disney was able to mess up Star Wars, do you think I don't think you're, I think I think he meant there. Do you think they're going to mess up other franchises? Do you, like they are now with Don Bluth movies? What do you think of that? Do you think that they're going to mess up other franchises now that they screwed up the Star Wars?
Like intentionally?
I don't think intentionally. I don't think they had any intention of messing this up. I think what they tried to do was say, "Oh, it's Star Wars, like Marvel." And I forget who said this. I think John Talk said this. We'll just take the Star Wars label and it's gonna make money. We can do whatever we want. And if we plaster Star Wars and we plaster Marvel, people are gonna go see it no matter what, just because it says Marvel or Star Wars. So I don't think they intentionally went to mess this up. I just don't think they really thought this out. I think all they cared about was the almighty dollar, instead of saying, hey, look, now that we got this, we got to get all the writers in here. We got to get all the people who made books. We got to get George in here. Let's get everybody together and let's make one hell of a kick-ass trilogy. And I don't think they did that. And I think that's where they messed up. I don't think they're intentionally trying to screw things up, but I'll get your opinion.
I mean, I think that they're going to make some shit movies. I think they're going to make some shit movies for sure. But as far as any other franchises that they have, I don't know if there's any I'm specifically worried about. Some of the examples he had were Anastasia, Ferngully, Titan A, Land Before Time, and Thumbelina. Aliens already. They've had some stinkers in the Alien series already. I think that what we're seeing in entertainment in general is a lot of people trying to put some kind of virtue signaling, some kind of narrative, some kind of identity politics, some sort of agenda, in front of the story. I think that everybody in entertainment, not just Disney, everybody needs to get back to focusing on the story first, rather than all of these outside things. Because if you tell a good story, I hear a little echo. I don't know if that's me or what, but if you tell a good story, I think that people will accept it. People will love it. People aren't going to like something just because I decide to put I'm casting a lesbian person of color. That's the term they like to say, right? They don't like to say black or Latino. They like to say person of color. I'm using a lesbian person of color as the lead in my film. Just that is not enough to make people like a film or enjoy it. You have to have a story. Now, that doesn't mean that there can't be awesome stories with female leads, black people lead. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense for you to make that your focus. Someone who I think does that really well is someone like, I use this example, Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder, you may hate the guy. You may hate his movies. I love a lot of his movies, including his DCU. However, he, for instance, he has a race swap character. Jason Momoa is not the traditional look for Aquaman, but people think Jason Momoa is a really great Aquaman. They love that dude. Things like that. If another director had done something like that, you might hear some outrage. But with Zack Snyder, he's very much just true to a vision and his story that he's trying to tell. He's not someone who's doing fake virtue signaling, anything like that. He's simply a guy who's just going to make a story. And that's why a lot of people don't like him in Hollywood, I think.
By the way, you didn't hear an echo. I actually said yes twice because I was very excited over what you had said. And I totally agree with you. So first I was like, yes. So you heard me say it twice. So
okay, gotcha.
Sorry. I was just so into what you were saying because I totally agree with you that for some reason, even in Twitter land, and you know how Twitter is because I've seen you cursing people out, and you know how it is, you get these people who assume that they know things. And I went on, and people are saying, "Oh, that we don't want a black lead." And I said, who'd you see this from, and what video? Could you please tell me?" And I never got a response. So when I kept asking questions, I said, "Just tell me where you got this information from, so I can understand." I never got responses from any of these people who were making all these false claims,
Yeah.
and that pisses me off. It's it just really pisses me off. This is a good question. This is from Ken. He says, "What do you think about Doomcock's rumors about using the veil? Is it the veil? The vial
The
to
veil.
reverse?" Yeah, I think that's what you were talking about. To reverse time to scrap the Disney trilogy. And this is, I think you mentioned this earlier about the World of Wars. Was from Rebels, if I remember correctly.
The world between worlds. Yeah.
That's it.
I think that. So I actually just put a video out on this subject. I literally made it public about a minute or two ago, with kind of my breakdown of it. But very simply put, I don't think it's real. I don't think that's happening. It doesn't make sense for a lot of different reasons. Could it happen? Yeah, sure. And now I'm not saying that Doomcock is making it up or anything like that. I think that this is exactly what Doomcock is hearing from his sources. I even go into this in my video and why I think that this might be some deliberate false information. And even Doomcock in his video starts it out by saying, "This is a rumor, take it with a grain of salt, but I am getting conflicting information." I think that people are putting out feelers, whether it's a feeler like, "Hey, will people be receptive to this?" Or whether it's like deliberate misinformation to try to get people to distracted or to talk about something else. That's what I feel like is going on. So it doesn't make sense to me for them to retcon the sequels, because as mad as we are about the sequel trilogy, there are fans of the sequel trilogy.
Of course. I can name a bunch of them. Yeah.
There definitely are. And to me, it wouldn't make sense to, if they were going to retcon them, it would only be to remake them. Because you wouldn't just say, "Hey, these are no longer canon, forget about these." Because then you would just disenfranchise all the actual fans of that while trying to appease to us who you don't know if you're going to get back by simply doing that. So the only reason that would make sense is if you were going to remake the trilogy. Spoiler alert, Carrie Fisher's dead. Harrison Ford, there's no way he's coming back for another series of movies. I'm sure they paid him millions of dollars to roll out of bed unshaven and like not even did his hair to come for a 10-second cameo. Because he only did TFA because they killed him off. That's the only reason he would do it. You could get Mark Hamill, I think, if you'd convinced him that, "Hey, we're going to do your character justice," But yeah, for the most part, it doesn't make any sense to me. And then you've got these fans in the middle that are just general moviegoers who are like, "Wait, episode 7? Didn't I just see that in theaters?" So it doesn't make any sense to me. A lot of the rumors don't connect and make sense.
It's been a while, but did the X-Men kind of do something like that? Where I forget the name of the movie. I just saw it so long ago.
Days of Future Past.
Yes. And did they do something like that where it seemed like everything we just watched now didn't happen?
Yeah.
So I mean, I was like, okay, yes, it happened, and it did bother me a little bit because I'm like, so you're saying that all the movies I saw, that none of this has happened?
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It's like they do it with comics too, and I swear to God, I cannot fucking stand when they do alternate time zones and we can go through this portal and this will change that and that will change this and then. I'm like, man, I can't even keep up on it anymore because it just feels so unrealistic. And I don't know if they're like, "Well, we made mistakes, so this is the way for us to change those mistakes. This is the way that we could say, oh, yeah, we fucked up here. So now we'll make an alternate time and say, oh, but that could be changed. You could change it." And I'm like, I get frustrated with that kind of thing.
The thing is, though, that we are very used to that with comic books. We have seen how many people have played a live action Batman in the past 31 years. A lot of people. We've had a lot of reboots of Batman, of comic book series, things like that. These are all normal things. Star Wars has been one continuous timeline for 40 years. That, to me, I think that would really throw people through a loop. I don't know. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine them doing that. But who knows?
Yeah, me neither. I just want to say hi to Rosie Wren, who always stops by the chat, and multi-minded Scotty. Just want to say hi to both of you. Michael Brent again said, I just heard that Disney Plus is planning on making episodes of the X-Men, the animated series, and there's rumors that Gargoyles might be coming back. I didn't hear that. I don't know. How do you feel about Disney Plus? Do you like that they're going to do Obi-Wan, they're going to do Rogue One spin-off, that the Mandalorian? I know you don't like Baby Yoda. I know. I've seen your videos. I know you can't stand him. Let me ask you that. I always wanted to know, what is it that pisses you off so much about Baby Yoda?
So there's two things about Baby Yoda that irritate me. One is like the easy one, the fact that it is so clearly like a gimmick intended to get little children and women excited about something they have no idea what it's about, and that worked very well for them. Baby Yoda became a meme. It became a meme and had people, buying things and interested that have no idea what they're talking about. So it worked in that way. But again, you're putting the focus on these things instead of creating a good story. And what I have a problem with Baby Yoda is it's just another character who I feel like he's justification for Rey, someone who was not trained, anything like that, but has these incredible Force abilities. And in fact, he literally uses Force healing that Rey then used a couple days later in The Rise of Skywalker. I've always felt that is the purpose of Baby Yoda, is to be like, hey guys, look, you don't have to have training. You just have to have Force abilities to do things with the Force. And it turns out that's literally like exactly what he was utilized for. Now, could they come up with he was actually trained for 50 years, even though he can't talk and, can't do anything to protect himself or anything like that, right? Yeah, but he was trained. You guys just didn't see it. I guess they could. But the bottom line, you need training. You need training to be able to do some of these things. And that was a chief complaint about Rey. And I feel like the Baby Yoda is a way to justify her existence.
Well, let me ask you this. Now, I didn't watch all the Rebels. I haven't finished. I saw some of it. I didn't see all of it. I know, and I'm also going to use Anakin and Ezra here. Here's two guys, right? Ezra survived because he has feelings. Anakin was able to fly, do pod racing, put together 3PO. So, I mean, in that extent, doesn't the Force, without training, doesn't the Force help guide you in a certain way without those training?
100%.
We could agree on that, correct?
100%. I think that there's a difference between active and passive uses of the Force. We never saw Anakin, even the fucking Chosen One. We never saw him just randomly, levitating or, grabbing a hydro spanner with the Force and pulling it over to him. His was instinctual. You know what I mean? It gave him a little quicker reflexes, things like that. Things that Qui-Gon clearly recognized that those are indications of a Jedi, someone with Force talent. Ability to see things just a little bit before they happen just comes naturally. No focus is required. That's like a passive use of the Force. The Force kind of guides you in ways. But you need to be trained. You need to train to hone those skills to kind of do it at command. Yoda was able to actually peer into the future to some extent. He was able to train those abilities. But you have to train to use these to access the Force and use it in an active way. Now, can something happen in a moment when you're about to be killed or something? You kind of lash out in emotion or something. Sure, for sure, that can happen. But the way that Rey is able to use the Force with no training, the way she is able to defeat Kylo Ren. Don't give me this shit about Kylo Ren being hurt. Don't give me that stuff. Kylo Ren could have flung her across the forest and cracked her spine, could have Force choked her, could have done any number of things to her.
Agreed.
But they didn't want that. They wanted her to have this awakening. And they don't have any idea how the Force works, in my opinion.
Well, to me, and I forget whose video I was watching, man, I couldn't remember. But someone said, it's funny how that in the movie, The Rise of Skywalker, it just conveniently, they use the Force and everything happens. Like the big, there's my lightsaber all of a sudden, and like all these, I could heal. I was like, okay, if you could heal, don't you think that every other person, don't you think Kenobi might have sacrificed his life to save Qui-Gon Jinn? Luke might have sacrificed his life to save his father, except Anakin would have sacrificed his life to save his mother. And like, it bothered me because it's like all of a sudden, why is she the chosen one? What happened here? You know, this whole story was about the Skywalker family. Now Disney comes in, and I know I'm trying to jump in a little here. I'm just trying to get as much as I can in because I know I don't have long with you. And then Disney comes in and they recut. They say, "Oh, Anakin wasn't born through the Force." That's not what happened. You know, it wasn't because of Plagueis and because the Force knew what was going on. No, what happened is Palpatine created Anakin. Now let me ask you this, Ryan: if Palpatine creates Anakin, then everybody's on Skywalker, aren't they?
Well, I will say that they have come out and said that is not that is not the case. That Palpatine did not create Anakin. Even though there is in a comic, but that was so. Evidently everyone has misinterpreted that. The Disney Story Group came out and said that was not necessarily the intention. Now that comic specifically is Vader entering some kind of like dream sequence, kind of where he sees a bunch of different visions. That's supposed to indicate more like his corruption. But it is weird. It looks weird. And people thought for over a year without clarification that they were meaning that Palpatine was the one who created him. They've come out and said that didn't happen. But when it comes to Rey, again, this is all about a lack of ability to tell a coherent story, in my opinion. This is about shock value and oohs and ahs instead of coming up with a substantive story. That's part of the problem with The Last of Us 2, which I've been talking about a lot on my channel, obviously. It's this sacrifice of good storytelling for something that subverts your expectations in order to surprise or shock you. Just because it's shocking doesn't mean it's good storytelling. Just because we were shocked by Luke, I am your father, doesn't inherently mean that that's good storytelling, right? You have to do a lot of things to make it work in between. Just being shocked isn't enough. And that to me is what they're doing. Oh, look, she has powers no one's ever seen before. Amazing.
But isn't that what Johnson was going for? Because when Mark said, "Listen, this is not what the fans going to want," like, and that whole thing with him and Mike Zero, which I never forgot about, wasn't Johnson's whole goal to say, "Oh, I want to make a movie that shocks everybody. I'm going to do the opposite of what everybody wants." Now look what we got. And had he not done that, and like you said, good writing, gone with the lore, gone with what the story was setting up, we could have got so much better of a movie instead of a movie that didn't feel like the middle. To me, it felt like the end.
Yeah. Like I felt like exactly The Last Jedi left you with nowhere. It left you nowhere to go. They've killed the leader. The resistance is down to a couple fighters. Like, it didn't make any sense. Big problem with that movie. I would say as bad as The Last Jedi was and how Last Jedi ruined Star Wars, there's no doubt that it did. Force Awakens helped it along that path. The Rise of Skywalker may have just been an even, like, from a straight, if you're just looking at it as a movie, not even a Star Wars movie, just a movie, I think The Rise of Skywalker may be worse just because of how chaotic it is. But The Last Jedi is such a terrible, like we talked about it, Rian Johnson just did not, he did what he was told to do. Make your own movie. Don't give a shit about anything else. And he didn't.
I want to ask you a big question because I used to do a question for creators thing where I would bring people, ask them 5 questions, and they would say how they felt. One of the things, and it's funny the answers I got, because a lot of people said, "Oh, I wouldn't have done this," and then when I say this question, they're kind of a little bit puzzled of what they would do. So my question is, let's say Ryan Kinel is now in charge of Lucasfilm. Everything's happened. You're in charge of Lucasfilm. What do you do to make this, to give a 180 to Star Wars? What would you do if you're in the chair?
All right. So me as an expanded universe fan, what I would love to happen is for them to come out and say, hey, exactly what we were talking about. This rumor, the Disney or the sequel trilogy, none of this stuff that we've done past 2014, none of that is canon. Boom, it's done. Continue on with the expanded universe. But that's not realistic. It's not realistic at this point. What I would do is honestly one of the things that I think Star Wars is doing, what I think Lucasfilm is doing. They see how divisive the sequel trilogy was. You don't see any stories being told in the sequel trilogy era right now, do you? You see all the stories being told in the original trilogy and prequel trilogy era, give or take a little bit. Now they're finally starting to reach out with the High Republic, and they are expanding a little bit. This might be the first actually original thing they're going to do. I think it's going to fall on its face because of who they have in charge of it. But if I were them, I would separate myself from the sequel trilogy. I would go back to selling some of these standalone stories like they are, creating original stories. Stop relying on these little cameos by, oh, look, all these people are going to appear in The Mandalorian. No, stop that.
Yeah.
Mandalorian, like it should have been, a story about a dark hero. That's all it had to be. Now you've brought the Force in. Now it's all about Jedi. Go and do things set 1,000, 2,000, 4,000 years before Star Wars. Create your own shit. Stop using the expanded universe to try to get a couple of fans on board because, oh, I've heard the name Darth Revan. Don't do that shit. You're just going to piss off the people who actually appreciate that character. They just need to separate themselves from the sequel trilogy, kind of just pretend it didn't happen, in my opinion. That's what I would do. Stop relying on these characters that you've destroyed to try to prop up your shit. Create your own individual things. Separate yourself from this very divisive era of Star Wars. Get back to telling good stories rather than virtue signaling.
Have you got much time? Because I know you're a very busy person. I don't know if you have Twitch tonight, and do you have more time or not?
I've got about 10 minutes. I'll go 10 minutes.
Okay, great. So 9:30 would be good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I really appreciate you being here. Michael says he fucking hates Baby Yoda. Just to play English. So here's another thing I want to bring up. I want to run this by you to see what you think of my idea. First, to try and save this, I would have made Rose Tico a First Order spy. And the reason that she crashed Finn and stopped Finn, because that didn't make any sense to me. That had to be the worst scene of Star Wars I've ever seen, in my opinion. So for her to crash Finn so then they could shoot and get into the base, I was like, what happens if Rose was a spy and in The Rise of Skywalker came to the end scene where she was going to shoot Finn or something and somebody kills her because Finn couldn't do it, maybe Poe kills her or something. I would have thought that would have been phenomenal. That would have helped out Rose's character because I just felt like it was dumb otherwise. I also would have made Rey at the end when they go, "Who are you?" And then that Rey Skywalker. I would have made her say Rey Palpatine, shocked everybody, and now you could have gave a new story, and Finn would have been like, "Oh my God." And this could have went into another trilogy where it's Rey and Finn, and now they've got to battle it out. Yeah. Anyway, that would have been my idea. I mean, do you like those ideas, or do you think that's not?
I honestly think that I think that after The Last Jedi, there's nothing that could have saved it. I don't think there's anything they could have done. I know people are all about this not the mythical, but the screenplay for Colin Trevorrow's Duel of the Fates. It's cool. I don't think that would have saved it. I think it's a slightly better story, but at the end of the day, you never could have told it because, again, Carrie Fisher died. I think that it would have been slightly better, but nothing can fix what they did and how they all the things that happened in The Last Jedi with Luke's character, things that happened in Force Awakens with Han Solo's character. You made listen to what they did. It wasn't just Luke Skywalker who was destroyed. Han Solo is turned into a deadbeat dad who sells Luke's medal for drinking money and is literally reverted to the same person that he was 40 years ago when they met him in that bar in Mos Eisley. Leia has failed as a mother. She has failed as a general. She has failed as a politician. She is a failure. I don't know why anyone looks up to this woman, to be quite honest with you. And then we all know what happened with Luke. It's not just Luke Skywalker who was destroyed. They have destroyed all of these characters' legacy. And I just don't think there's anything they could have done post Last Jedi to fix it. that's why I just think they need to just ignore it. Just ignore it and start using this huge universe. Stop making this universe so small. This is an infinite universe, but for some reason, it seems like everybody knows everybody and all that stuff. So we'll see what they decide to do going forward.
Oh, I just wanted to say hi to Will, and I wanted to say hi to Mega Jetty, who stopped by. So I just wanted to. Will Gentry's in there. So was Mega. So I just wanted to say hi to them. When did you become a mod? Asked Will Gentry a while ago when you were in my last stream. You might have forgot because it's been a bit since you've been here, but I made you a mod. Before you go, I know I got very few time. What would you think if they said, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make the EU canon. We're going to do an EU trilogy. What would be your thoughts on that? Because I think that would be the way to save or at least turn this around majorly. I mean, I think they would make mega money if they wrote the EU correctly. And there's so many characters in the EU to introduce to people who are just a regular Joe Schmo like me. I don't have all the 140 books you do, but do you? Because I would love to see these characters come to life on the big screen. But what are your thoughts about that?
Personally, I would love it. Obviously, I talked about that a little bit. I thought that that's what they were going to do. That's why I was so excited. But like I said, the issue that they would come to is the fact that we have just done this. We've just done this a couple years ago. We said, all right, all this shit is no longer canon. We're doing a fresh start. Then only a couple years later, all the fans that you have built that actually like this thing, you say, nah, fuck you, fresh start. We're doing this over again. At some point, when that happens enough times, people are not going to invest in something that they don't believe is going to last. So that's why I feel like they would be hesitant to do that. I would obviously love that. I would feel for any actual fans of the sequel trilogy because I know what that's like to have my shit say, all this stuff that happened. Yeah, fuck you. It didn't happen. It sucks. It's awful. So I don't know, but I would love it. I don't know how you would do it right now without having to recast everyone. That would be a struggle, I think, because you need to recast Leia if you're going to tell those stories. And honestly, I don't know if Mark Hamill's up to some of the things that you would maybe want to have Luke be doing if the EU is canon. So
what about if they cast it? If they found, like, you know how you see some people do these YouTube like fan films and they fit the character very well. What happens if they used those guys? Say, hey, these are great. These guys hit it. They got the love. They got the passion. They got everything down. They got the character. What happens if they took these actors on the YouTube and say, hey, we're bringing them in, as Luke and Leia and Han? Do you think that could work?
I think that it can. I think that it can. I don't think it can right now. I've said since the moment Disney bought Star Wars, I feel like they're going to remake the original trilogy, which I don't want to happen. I don't want them to do that, but I think they will because it's Disney. I think they're going to wait until Mark Hamill's dead before they do that. And if not dead, then just like so old that no one could reasonably ask that he be in a movie.
But I think that what I would have done with Mark was bring him on and say, hey, listen, I don't know. The last thing I'll say, I think that they should have bring the people who have passion, love, wrote the books, like Mark, whoever. I think if they bring all these people who Star Wars is a huge part of their life and they want to be a part of it, bring them in to make them understand this is what the fans want. Let's give it. Like the Snyder Cut. We gave the Snyder Cut to them. Look how many people are happy. Let's do this with Star Wars. I think that that's what we need.
I totally agree. That was their mistake. They decided to do this thing with a bunch of people who didn't know anything about Star Wars, who just had they either looked a certain way or they thought a certain way. And that's why they got on the story group and were part of this. They should have got all the people who were carefully curating Star Wars for so many years. All those authors who kept Star Wars alive when there were no movies. That reinvigorated Star Wars in the 90s and kept it alive between 2005 and 2012. Those are the people that they should have had doing this. That was their big mistake. So if they can bring all those people back in the fold, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. Oh, Will says Lucas. Yes, he's very, very, very good point. the moment he died, I guess he's talking about Luke. They made a piss poor Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy film. I'm not quite sure who does he mean died.
Douglas Adams.
Oh, okay. Well, I know you got to go, Brian. So
Yeah.
first off, I want to wish you congratulations on a year on YouTube and a very successful one at that. I want to wish you congratulations on over 20K plus people. I think you're 21 to 22. I don't know. I'm losing a track after a while. I'm honored. First of all, I'm honored because you did two things for me, which I'm very grateful. One was when you had me on your stream with Jeremy. I was so honored that you did that and you took time. You didn't know me that well. I really appreciate it. And this is the second thing you've done for me. To come here, I'm truly honored. I think you're a great guy. I love you. I watch your channel. I watch you on Twitch when I can. You know, I try to spread myself out to as many people as I can.
Yeah.
And I really don't think that I don't catch you. I don't hear you because I told you some things that I wouldn't know had I not watched you. So,
right.
Yeah, I really appreciate you. I just want to thank you for being here. And if you'd like to plug your channel and tell everybody what it's all about, please, this is your time.
Well, guys, my channel is a little bit about Star Wars. I talk about comics. I talk about video games too now, especially this Naughty Dog stuff. But you can sub to me if you want. You can search Ryan Kinel. You can search RK Outpost, any of those good things. But I wanted to say very humbled by those words. I don't feel very deserving of that. I'm just a normal dude. I am very busy. I have a lot of things going on between my channel, my Twitch, Geeks and Gamers Twitch, Sports Wars, Gaming with Geeks, a lot of different things I do. However, I do like to come on a bunch of different channels. So if you're someone who is trying, if you're watching, you've been trying to get me on your channel, just keep asking. Because when I find time, I do really like to do it. And I'm really thankful that we were able to make this work out, that I was able to come on your channel, my friend. And I wish you all best of luck in the future and all the things you do. Looking forward to it, man.
And I hope you'll be on. I mean, I know, it may not be anytime soon, but I hope we can do this again because I really, really enjoyed your insight and your vision. And I really enjoyed it and your knowledge of Star Wars. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, sounds good.
So if you haven't checked out RK Outpost, Ryan Kinel, please, if you're on my channel, you're watching this on replay, please make sure you do subscribe to the guy. He's a great guy. You're going to like him. I'm telling you, I wouldn't lead you in the wrong direction. With that, I've got to let him go. I don't want to, but it's time. I got to do what I got to do. And everybody, I'm going to end the stream with that. Will, thanks for being here. Everybody, thanks for the super chats. Was that I really appreciate that. And everybody, be well. I'll see you next time right here on Entertainment and Star Wars. Take care.